Homa Bina Kedayalo Jagata Samsare. Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara. Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara. Mosamapatita Prabhu Napaibeara. Mosamapatita Prabhu Napaibeara. Ha ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. Kripa Bolo Kanakoro Ami Bada Duki. Doya Koro Sita Pati Advaita Gosai. Tava Kripa Bole Pai Caitanya Nitai. Ha ha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha. Bhatta Yuga Shri Jiva Ha Prabhu Lokanath. Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas. Ramachandra Sangamaje Narottamajas. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a song composed by Narottam Das Thakur. He prays to, please take these, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My dear Lord, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Actually, this is a fact. Not only Narottam Das Thakur, but also Rupa Goswami prayed to Lord Chaitanya in this way. At the time of their first meeting of Lord Chaitanya and Rupa Goswami at Prayag, Allahabad, now Prayagraj, Srila Rupa Goswami said, "My dear Lord, you are the most munificent of all incarnations because you are distributing love of Krishna, Krishna consciousness. When Krishna was personally present, he simply asked us to surrender, but he did not distribute himself so easily. He made conditions. First of all, you surrender. But this incarnation, Lord Chaitanya, although Krishna himself makes no such condition, he simply distributes. Take love of Krishna. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya is approved as the most munificent incarnation. Namo Mahavananaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya, Krishna Chaitanya, Namne Gora Tvishe Namaha. Narottam Das Thakur says, "Please be merciful to me. You are so magnanimous because you have seen the fallen souls of this age and you are very much compassionate to them. But you should know also that I am the most fallen. No one is more greatly fallen than I am. Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar. Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned, fallen souls. But I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first." Then he prays to Lord Nityananda. He says, "Ha ha Prabhu Nityananda, Premananda Sukhi." My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, I may also become happy. Then he prays to Advaita Prabhu, Daya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai. Advaita Prabhu's wife's name was Sita. Therefore, he is sometimes addressed as Sitapati. Thus, Narottam Das Thakur prays, "My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me." Actually, Advaita Prabhu invited Lord Chaitanya to come down. When Advaita Prabhu saw that the fallen souls were all engaged simply in sense gratificatory processes, not understanding Krishna consciousness, he felt very much compassionate toward the fallen souls, and he also felt himself incapable of claiming them all. He therefore prayed to Lord Krishna, "Please come yourself. Without your personal presence, it is not possible to deliver these fallen souls." Thus, by his invitation, Lord Chaitanya appeared. Naturally, Narottam Das Thakur prays To Advaita Prabhu, if you will be kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. Then he prays to the Goswamis, Ha ha Svarup Sanatan Rupa Raghunath. Svarup refers to Svarup Damodar, the personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya. He was always with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he immediately arranged for whatever he wanted. Two personal attendants, Svarup Damodar and Govinda, were constantly with Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur also praised to Svarup Damodar and then to the six Goswamis, the next disciples of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Rupa, Sri Sanatan, Sri Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. These six Goswamis were directly instructed by Lord Chaitanya to spread his movement of Krishna consciousness. Narottam Das Thakur also prays for their mercy. After the six Goswamis, the next Acharya was Srinivasacharya. Actually, Narottam Das Thakur was in the disciplic succession after Srinivasacharya and was almost his contemporary, and his personal friend was Ramachandra Chakravarti. Therefore he prays, I always desire the company of Ramachandra. He desires a devotee's company. The whole process is that we should always pray for the mercy of the superior acharyas and keep company with pure devotees. Then it will be easier for us to advance in Krishna consciousness and receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. This is the sum and substance of this song sung by Narottam Das Thakur. Make this a little louder. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mamamanda Mater Gati Matsarvasva Padambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano Dibyad Brindaranya Kalpajumada Srimad Ratnagara Singha Shriman Radha Shilagovinda Devo Pistalabi Savyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Bamsi Bhatta Tatastitaha Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinatha Striye Stuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshvari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhye Vacha Titanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. In a temple of jewels, underneath the desire trees of Vrindavan, seated upon an effulgent throne, are the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates. We beg to offer our respectful obeisances unto them. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Ādi-līlā, Chapter 2, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chapter Summary. This chapter explains that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. Therefore, the Brahman effulgence is the bodily luster of Lord Chaitanya, and the localized supersoul situated in the heart of every living entity is his partial representation. The Purusha avatars are also explained in this connection. Mahavishnu is the reservoir of all conditioned souls, but as confirmed in the authoritative scriptures, Lord Krishna is the ultimate fountainhead, the source of numerous plenary expansions, including Narayan, who is generally accepted by Mayavadi philosophers to be the absolute truth. The Lord's manifestation of Prabhav and Vaibhav expansions, as well as partial incarnations and incarnations with delegated powers, are also explained. Lord Krishna's ages of boyhood and youth are discussed, and it is explained that his age at the beginning of youth is his eternal form. For the time being. Is his eternal form. The spiritual sky contains innumerable spiritual planets, the Vaikunthas, which are manifestation of the Supreme Lord's internal energy. Innumerable material universes are similarly exhibited by his external energy, and the living entities are manifested by his marginal energy, because Lord Krishna Chaitanya is not different from Lord Krishna. He is the cause of all causes. There is no cause beyond him. He is eternal, and his form is spiritual. Lord Chaitanya is directly the Supreme Lord, Krishna, as the evidence of authoritative scriptures proves. This chapter stresses that a devotee who wishes to advance in Krishna consciousness must have knowledge of Krishna's personal form, his three principal energies, his pastimes, and the relationship of the living entities with him. Sri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Balopi Yad Anugrahat Taran Nana Matagraha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. I offer my obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusive truth, which is full of the crocodiles of various theories. Purport. By the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even an inexperienced boy with no educational culture can be saved from the ocean of nescience, which is full of various types of philosophical doctrines that are like dangerous aquatic animals. The philosophy of the Buddha, the argumentative presentations of the Gyanis, the yoga systems of Patanjali and Gautama, and the systems of philosophers like Kanada, Kapila, and Dattatreya are dangerous creatures in the ocean of nescience. By the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can have real understanding of the essence of knowledge by avoiding these sectarian views and accepting the lotus feet of Krishna as the ultimate goal of life. Let us all worship Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his gracious mercy to the conditioned souls. Hare Krishna. So we're reading from the important beginning chapters of the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Srila Prabhupada had the choice of several very glorious biographies of Lord Chaitanya to translate into English and other languages for the benefit of his disciples and everyone. But understanding his limited time, he chose, well, for one reason, he chose Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. The main reason is that is the presentation of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and Lord Chaitanya, and as described here, understanding Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. We're hearing Mahavishnu is coming from Krishna, the fountainhead from which all the universes and all the different incarnations are coming. So, and it's mentioned here in the chapter summary, Prabhupada says, that this chapter stresses that a devotee who wishes to advance in Krishna consciousness must have specific knowledge of Krishna's form, his three principal energies, his pastimes, and the relationship of the living entities with him. It is said in one place, one should not neglect this knowledge, thinking that it is too difficult to understand. Actually, the Acharya and even the Madhyamadikari are expected, certainly, to be able to defend the Siddhanta of Krishna consciousness against all adversaries, or as described here as very interesting, dangerous aquatic animals. The ocean is very, very vast, practically infinite from our perspective, and all we can see are waves on the top. We don't know what's underneath. Even sometimes dangerous aquatic animals, they'll come very close to the beach. There'll be a shark attack, people just wading like 2 feet into the water. Very, very dangerous. It's interesting, the comparison of what's lying in the ocean is very, very dangerous. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma, in praying to Krishna to forgive him for what he considered temporarily, but it ultimately was a year by earthly time, stealing the calves and cowherd boyfriends of the Lord, said that one who has taken your shelter, for him the entire ocean of material existence shrinks down to practically the insignificant amount of water contained in a hoof print of a calf. So similarly here, that even how does Prabhupada say? An inexperienced boy with no educational culture can be saved from the ocean of nescience by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. By the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can have real knowledge of the essence of knowledge by avoiding these sectarian views and accepting the lotus feet of Krishna as the ultimate goal of life. So bhakti comes first, and then vidya comes as a concomitant factor. Vidya Vadu Jivanam, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself proclaims how his Sankirtan movement, which is the distribution of love of Godhead, as we're hearing Rupa Goswami, he is noticing Lord Chaitanya's distribution of love of Godhead through his glorious Sankirtan performed at the confluence of the Ganges in Prayagraj, Allahabad, and in great transcendental ecstasy and in firm conviction and perfect realization, he uttered this famous prayer, the famous words, "You are Krishna himself, you are distributing love of Krishna, therefore you are the most magnanimous incarnation." All of these argumentative presentations, as they're described here, they're simply illogical stumbling blocks to understand what is actual truth and what is the actual reality of the situation. And we see in the preaching of the Acharyas, especially His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, and as he gave all credit to his own spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that they were able to not only defeat and expose these erroneous philosophies, but make them look to the layman, to the people in general, or to barely new young disciples as what they actually are, completely ridiculous and illogical. And Prabhupada would praise his disciples that because of their absolute faith and adherence to he as the spiritual master, they could challenge big men, big scientists, philosophers. There's the memoir of Hansadutta Prabhu. He was one of Prabhupada's first disciples. And he, long story short, he played hooky from school most of his youthful life, didn't graduate from high school, and had no, certainly, college training or anything. And yet he was asked to speak in Harvard University before professors and students. And he was remarking, like, how is this possible? How could I wouldn't even be let in the door for any other reason, but because I'm representing the Acharyas, my beloved spiritual master, and I'm representing Krishna and giving the correct version of the Shastras, I'm put in this position. So no mundane qualification is necessary, what to speak of required, to be able to represent Krishna consciousness in the proper way. Actually, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in a more strong, cautionary instruction, that mundane education is the glare of the illusory energy and makes one more foolish than an ass, a donkey. And we see sometimes when we're, let's say Washington Square Park, we're right in the thick or in the midst of New York University, which is not as prestigious as Harvard and Yale, but it's getting up there. And some of those folks are pretty puffed up, some of them not, because they think that, we paid all this money and we have all this prestige and we're learning whatever we're learning, and everybody who isn't able to do that or not on that level must respect us because we're something great. This is just illusion. Text number 2. Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Kala. Let's see if I can do this. Pato Jani Rajita Sad Bhaktarvali Hamsa Chakra Marupa Shreni Vihasa Padam. Karanadi Kala Daver Vahatu Me Jiva Maru Pangane Sri Chaitanya Daya Nidhi Tava Lasal Lila Sudha Svarduni. O my merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The river's flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. Purport. Our tongues always engage in vibrating useless sounds that do not help us realize transcendental peace. The tongue is compared to a desert because a desert needs a constant supply of refreshing water to make it fertile and fruitful. Water is the substance most needed in the desert. The transient pleasure derived from mundane topics of art, culture, politics, sociology, dry philosophy, poetry, and so on is compared to a mere drop of water because although such topics have a qualitative feature of transcendental pleasure, they are saturated with the modes of material nature. Therefore, neither collectively nor individually can they satisfy the vast requirements of the desert-like tongue. Despite crying in various conferences, therefore, the desert-like tongue continues to be parched. For this reason, people from all parts of the world must call for the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are compared to swans swimming around the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or bees humming around his lotus feet in transcendental pleasure, searching for honey. The dryness of material happiness cannot be moistened by so-called philosophers who cry for Brahman, liberation, and similar dry, speculative objects. The urge of the soul proper is different. The soul can be solaced only by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his many bona fide devotees who never leave the lotus feet of the Lord. They become imitation Mahaprabhus, but all cling to his lotus feet like bees that never leave a honey-soaked lotus flower. Lord Chaitanya's movement of Krishna consciousness is full of dancing and singing about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. It is compared herein to the pure waters of the Ganges, which are full of lotus flowers. The enjoyers of these lotus flowers are the pure devotees who are like bees and swans. They chant like the flowing of the Ganges, the river of the celestial kingdom. The author desires such sweetly flowing waves to cover his tongue. He humbly compares himself to materialistic persons who always engage in dry talk from which they derive no satisfaction. If they were to use their tongues to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, they would taste sweet nectar and enjoy life. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, I remember one time, 1 year ago, many years ago, one of my godbrothers, we said, let's read all of the opening verses of each chapter of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, like one after the other. And then we also read the Falshruti also at the end of each chapter. So this is very, very nice. I offer my obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusive truth. So the idea of a great body of water and of rivers, I am the Ganges, Krishna says, the great celestial river coming from the causal ocean, which was arranged by the Lord in his form as Vamanadev. The nectarian Ganges water of your transcendental activities. So here we're transported from a dangerous ocean which has ferocious aquatic animals in it in the form of Mayavad and deviant philosophies, to the beautiful Ganges water which is full of lotus flowers, the river of the spiritual world. No danger there, quite to the contrary. Anyone who has any contact with the Ganges is guaranteed liberation from this material world. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name. So when we engage in the process of Nam Sankirtan, we're actually swimming in this celestial Ganges river. Literally and figuratively, actually, in our spiritual body. Devotional service, to perform devotional service, even with this corporal body, means to confirm yourself not just as spirit soul, but as Krishna's eternal servant. Loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. Purification in the beginning, ecstasy in the end. And because it is non-different from beginning to end, the miracle of transformation from sadhana, from practitioner to siddha, is guaranteed. Utsaha nischaya dharya tat tat karma pavartanad. Patience, enthusiasm, utsahan. Huh? I can't hear what you're saying. No. Utsaha nischaya dharya tat tat karma. Confidence. Because I'm engaging in the Lord's service, it is guaranteed that I will become a pure devotee. Of course, it's up to us how much we make 100% those things, not like holding back something. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Prabhupada would reiterate the analogy, the wedding party, getting the boatmen to row all night long, and in the morning they discovered they were in the same place, and they forgot one very important thing, but realizing that they forgot it, they realized that this was very foolish. They forgot to take out the anchor. The river's flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. So what is the opposite to a beautiful celestial river that nourishes everything and everyone. And what is it in the Bhagavad Gita? Just as a large body of water, all smaller needs of water for this or that are accomplished. So similarly, by Krishna consciousness, everything is fulfilled. Your liberation from repeated birth and death is solved. Your comfortable living in this world is solved. But your real problem of life is getting prema, the ultimate satisfaction, providing the nectar for which we're always anxious. So the opposite is the desert. The tongue is compared to a desert because a desert needs a constant supply of refreshing water to make it fertile and fruitful. Fertile and fruitful means that there is an ongoing process of nourishment and emergence and ultimate fulfillment of the fruit that one is desired. And we don't just get the fruit immediately. We have to cultivate. We have to make the conditions right. And in that process, like you can compare the analogy of spring planting and how beautiful and glorious it is from beginning to end, especially, we're assuming that there's no outstanding position of ugra karma like drought, lack of rain, or bad chemicals, fertilizer, whatever, but everything is done very naturally. Then by the time harvest season comes, and we see in agrarian cultures over the centuries and millennia how joyous that is of the time of harvest, because everyone was intimately involved in the process. That's why it's recommended that all problems will be solved if everyone has their own parcel of land and they can cultivate their own food, or at least a cooperative effort of villagers. Not that everyone is packed into the city and is dependent. That is the position of the Sudra. He can't do or think for himself. He has to serve a higher master. So the demons have made themselves the so-called higher master and enslaving people. We don't want to get into it in so many different ways. And the result is that people's minds are disturbed, their senses are agitated, and ultimately the only thing they can think of is more and more ugra karma activities that simply make the situation worse and worse. So Krishna consciousness is the opposite, to give people something real to think about, which will satisfy their mind and intellect, their emotions, and pacify their senses completely. Water is the substance most needed in the desert. The transient pleasure derived from mundane topics of art, culture, politics, sociology, dry philosophy, poetry, and so on is compared to a mere drop of water, because although such topics have a qualitative feature of transcendental pleasure, they are saturated with the modes of material nature. So oftentimes, poets, writers, musicians, people involved in art, if you look at their private life, not so private anyway, what they're doing, it's some of the most low and really deviating from what is actual spiritual self-realization, the type of things they get involved in, the types of things that they pass off as art. Jadurani, she was in art school, and I forget the circumstance, but maybe Prabhu was going to a university to speak, and there was some artwork on the wall, and it was just simply like sticks or logs or something, and just some impersonal mental speculative concoction of something. And Prabhupada said, if you think that this is art, I can only pray to Lord Krishna to save you. So the soul is trying, even in the covered position, like if we're like put all these blankets and things on top of us, we're still going to try to breathe, but it's going to be very, very labored and muted. Or we try to speak, put them, you know, you put a muzzle on somebody. So we're striving for light. We're striving for, this is it, eureka, nirvana, whatever it is. But without the proper direction, without information of how to go about it, the proper process, we will do, but it's going to be tainted by the modes of material nature. Therefore, neither collectively nor individually can they satisfy the vast requirements of the desert-like tongue. People all get together, we all like this type of music. There's 20,000 of us in this concert, yeah! Or whatever it is. So make a society for this or for that. We're like-minded. Yes, I'm a member of the Philharmonic Lincoln Center, and I have like season tickets and all the, uppity-ups and muckety-mucks. We all come together wearing our tuxedos and gowns, and we're hearing this opera. Therefore, neither collectively nor individually can they satisfy the vast requirements of the desert-like tongue. Despite crying in various conferences, and Prabhupada would like to point out, the grand attempt to the United Nations has not made the nations united at all. The desert-like tongue continues to be parched. For this reason, people from all parts of the world must call for the devotees of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So who's calling for the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Well, some people, they're calling from Brahma. They're calling, from Brahma, we're calling for you, a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to come forward and pour the nectar of hearing and chanting upon our desert-like tongue, right? Something, right? The devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord. Therefore, they take all types of risks in approaching ignorant men to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. So we go uninvited, into what the great Constitution of the United States has made our right as a human being to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, freedom of speech and religion, to which this country was founded because they weren't getting that in Europe, the original pilgrims and people who came here. So it's a public place. Taxpayer money pays for it. We're allowed to be here. And sometimes these officials who think that they're supposed to guard or see how the public space is used and not misused properly, they don't even know that we have the right to be there, and we have to get into, let's say, an educational stance to explain to them that actually they're wrong and we're right. This is Kali Yuga. But ultimately, what is being described here by Srila Prabhupada will come to pass more and more and more. People will be calling on us, please come and solve the problem. They should call for the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are compared to swans swimming around the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or bees humming around his lotus feet in transcendental pleasure, searching for honey. So Ananda Mudi Vardhanam, Pradipanam Purnatmitas Vardhanam. We know where the honey is, and we're completely convinced to always be in a position to, like a bumblebee, mining out that honey, but there's never enough. We always want more. This is called lolium, transcendental greed. So, as Narottam Das Thakur advises us by pointing out his desire to have the association of his dear friend Ramachandra Chakravarti, that if we always keep company with advanced devotees, then the process of Krishna consciousness becomes much, much easier. Because advanced devotee means leader. Leader to find the honey. Leader to find the higher way to please Krishna in the greatest possible way. Just like Srila Prabhupada is the greatest example. I believe it was a Kinchana Krishna Das Babaji. I'm not sure. One of Prabhupada's very dear and friendly godbrothers said, telling to Prabhupada's disciples, your spiritual master has so much pleased our Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It is beyond words to describe. So Krishna, he very much is favorable, very much inclined to the devotees who serve their spiritual master, who is 100% engaged in expanding the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is the secret to success, and Prabhupada has pointed that out. And we see by serving Srila Prabhupada how his movement continues and expands on and on and on, even by material calculations, some 46 going on 47 years since his so-called disappearance. I will always be with you. I will never leave you. I live forever in my books. Prabhupada, in dedicating the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in 1962, dedicated to my spiritual master on the occasion of the 26th anniversary of his disappearance from this world. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. Searching for honey. The dryness of material happiness cannot be moistened by so-called philosophers who cry for Brahman liberation and similar dry, speculative objects. One of Prabhupada's most often presented and perhaps easiest way to understand defeat of impersonal Brahman understanding, or that this is the supreme thing to achieve, that also includes Buddhism, voidism, is that the soul is always active. How can you stay in a place where there's no activity and no variety? You have to come down. Just like the verse in the prayers for the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb, chapter 2, the 10th canto, Nye Ravindaksha Vamukti Maninas. They fall down, and the demigods, they describe that conception as imagined superiority. One time, early, maybe 1968, if you listen to Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita classes, they were very interactive. A devotee would read, he would stop, he would explain, he'd ask for questions. And this was to disciples, so there weren't any like challengers or just, nonsensical people there. And one innocent young devotee was asking about this subject matter. Why do they fall down? What is the problem with Brahman, the all-pervasive Brahman realization? And Prabhupada just simply replied in these few words, because they get lonely. The urge of the soul proper is different. The soul can be solaced only by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his many bona fide devotees. Kali Yuga is very dark. We need many, many moons. In one place, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami compares the devotees of Lord Chaitanya to different moons who illuminate the darkness of this Kali Yuga. And Prabhupada would use that analogy quite often What is the point of many, many minute little stars in the sky? By quantity, how much light do they give? Let there be one full moon and illuminate the entire darkness. And there's many bona fide devotees who never leave the lotus feet of the Lord to become imitation Mahaprabhus. We should never consider ourselves to be great devotees. We should simply aspire to become instrumental in the hands of the predecessor acharyas. Then we can actually do something for suffering humanity. Not that, oh, I'm in this Krishna consciousness movement, but there's a hierarchical ladder that I can ascend and climb up, and then I'll get the most respect and most adoration. And we shouldn't be thinking like that. Prabhupada's godbrother, B.R. Sridhar Maharaj, was asked, how do you know when you're qualified to be a spiritual master? His answer was, when you did everything you possibly could to avoid it. But all cling, don't try to become imitation Mahaprabhus, but all cling to his lotus feet like bees that never leave a honey-soaked lotus flower. Lord Chaitanya's movement of Krishna consciousness are full of dancing and singing about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. It is compared herein to the pure waters of the Ganges, which are full of lotus flowers. The enjoyers of those lotus flowers are the pure devotees who are like bees and swans. They chant like the flowing of the Ganges, the river of the celebrated kingdom. So we see by the efforts of course, Srila Prabhupada, who famously inaugurated the Sankirtan movement here on the 9th of October, 1966, at Tompkins Square Park between Avenue A and B and 10th and 7th Street in what is now called the Alphabet City of the East Village of New York City. And from there, that chanting spread all over this planet, and probably, we could say, or yes, but maybe we can't see, all over the universe. And the force of that motion of Srila Prabhupada inaugurating the Sankirtan movement here in New York City has now gone back to India and expanded so much. So many devotees are taking the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and making it, as it should be, the exclusive focus of this Krishna consciousness movement. The author desires such sweetly flowing waves to cover his tongue. He humbly compares himself to materialistic persons who always engage in dry talk from which they derive no satisfaction. Prabhupada famously said, meetings, dissolutions, revolutions, no solutions. Let there be chanting. One time, when Prabhupada was present, the devotees came with their GBC resolutions, and Prabhupada kind of, maybe approved some, reluctantly let others go, or just nixed some. And then he saw, like in their minutes, but where is it said here that you discussed how to chant Hare Krishna more purely? If they were to use their dry tongues to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as exemplified by Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, widely renowned as a scholar in his youth, left only 8 verses of instruction. These supremely valuable prayers are translated hereby within. As exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, they would taste sweet nectar and enjoy life. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Any question or comment? Quickly, I guess we went 3 minutes overdue. Premamani Devi Dasi has a question. So either you speak loudly or someone goes and gets the microphone.
In the purport, Prabhupada was describing about poetry and writing and
right.
in these arts, and basically how they've become so degraded that so it made me think about Indradyumna Swami. He gave a
speak about
Indradyumna Swami. He gave a class on 64 arts of devotional service, and he was describing how we have lust, anger, and greed in the heart, and through chanting, the Bhakti Lata Bij is developed, and therefore it brings us to devotional service. And in devotional service, there's 64 arts, so it just made me think that through Krishna consciousness, our inclinations are dovetailed to spiritual activities. So that made me think about that.
You are 100% correct, and as Indradyumna Swami presented. So, as pointed out in the purport, we can call that the perverted reflection. So, what is highest in the spiritual world becomes the lowest thing in the material world, or the most binding to the material laws of nature. So, just as if one has no information of how to engage in the practice, sadhana, of Krishna consciousness, then one's ability to protect oneself from the onslaught or the influence of the lower modes of material nature. And let's keep in mind this small little fact: it is Kali Yuga out there. And it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier. So how will we be able to understand ultimately the 64 transcendental arts that are so much enjoyed by Krishna? So correspondingly, it's not that we should be afraid of art and poetry, but we should, if we have that talent or tendency, proclivity, that's a nice word, proclivity, then under proper guidance or proper, let's say, direction, it is actually the most valuable thing to develop it, demonstrate it, and distribute it. Because otherwise, we're not impersonal,